back here on the African American Athlete live stream. Happy New Year to everybody. And we're glad you're joining us, and looking forward to having a great hour of discussion about the world of sports and what's going on in our society. What's happening, fellas?
All right, well, you already know what's up with us. J5, so happy Founders Day, Brother Hampton.
Yes, sir. And it is Kappa Alpha Psi's anniversary today, 1911, January 5th, 1911. Man, it is
110 years. 110 years.
And you know, shout out to the HBCUs too, man, that have carried us over the course of these years, man. And the three of us all being HBCU graduates, I mean, we really have a lot to be proud of our respective universities. You know, Tennessee State, Morehouse, and Virginia Union. So I mean, just all that is just fantastic.
I'm looking for my first Morehouse senator tonight. Raphael Warnock is a Morehouse guy, so
okay,
we're looking to see what he's gonna do. We already have people out like in the House of Representatives, had them forever. One of y'all's frat, I ran his communications team for his 2010 election. Sanford Bishop, Morehouse guy, and he is also a Cap. So yeah, so we got him and got Cedric Rich, a bunch of other guys up there in the in Congress. So we're looking for the first senator. So I look at it right now, but it's real early.
And let's not forget how this will affect the WNBA too.
Oh, we'll see, because I saw those ladies for the Atlanta Dream wearing the Warnock shirts. So,
yeah, exactly.
So. That was hilarious to me.
That is really hilarious. And shout out to those ladies, man. And shout out to them.
Exactly.
You know, think about what gosh, I can't even think of her name now. The best player in the WNBA.
Maya Moore.
Maya Moore gave up her season to
actually from the Atlanta area too.
To go work on a human rights project and help free a brother who had been wrongly incarcerated.
Right.
She should be the athlete. She should be the person of the year.
She should have been the person of the year, because that when granted, LeBron did a lot with awareness and things over the summer. And as you can see, it's business as usual. Now the NBA is back in. We have our names on our jerseys. There's nothing on the floor. There was a moment in time. Granted, it was a pivotal moment in history, but the commitment doesn't seem to be there. I don't know maybe because it's a new season. Maybe that's the reason why, because I still I see Breonna Taylor's name on the back of helmets in the NFL as they head toward the playoffs and that kind of stuff.
But Tim, one thing you talked about, even when all this was going on, you said, you know, this is nice, but these are just words.
Oh, yeah.
These are just symbols. And is what's going to take place beyond that that's going to be important.
For sure, because I know I've walked. You don't see me walking down the grocery store aisle checking to see if they changed the name on Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, because that's irrelevant to me. You know what change is going to happen is when people don't get 7 warning shots in their back and not get charged.
Right.
You know,
and you know what? It'd be interesting to see if the Bucks do anything. Because remember, they were like the pivotal team this summer.
It went down.
This summer. See, I forget what season it was. This fall in the bubble, they were the pivotal team that said, "No, we're not going."
And then the Brewers said, "We're not going to go out like that." So maybe the Packers have something in place, but maybe I think the Packers have the week off, right? They have the top seed.
Yeah, they're the top seed. So
that's a fool with that.
I mean, you know, and I'm sure all you that are watching know we're talking about the brother James Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, shot 7 times in the back.
Yes.
By a cop who was holding his T-shirt and shot 7 times. Today, the DA said no charges will be filed. So let's see what happens when the new administration comes in, because you know there's a chance they can always come back and go after federal charges. I'm sorry, Mike.
And here's the thing. I actually sent not a text, but a tweet to 2 of Kenosha's most prominent people, Nick Van Exel and Melvin Gordon. And I said, once again, K-Town, that's what we called it, even though that's an area in Chicago too, but we call it K-Town growing up in that area. And I said, K-Town disappointed again, no charges for this guy that unnecessarily shot him. Not once, but 7 times. Or, what did they say? 5 hit, but he shot 7 times. And,
but he lived though, so there's gonna be something.
Yeah.
And that,
exactly.
The upside of that is that he lived, survived it, and he'll be dealing with something in the interim on that.
But the guy and his kids in the car also. And Mike, where you're familiar with the Kenosha area? There's a strong Black population there.
Not really. It's a little bit more than it was when I was younger. So growing up, as I said, when you're racing in Kenosha, you're in both markets. You're in the Chicagoland market and you're in the Milwaukee market. So Kenosha was more of an Italian slant. Matter of fact, Daniel J. Travante, famous actor, he was from there, and a couple other Italian actors were from there. I think it was one comedian. So it was a little bit of a Black community, and then you started getting some people moving up from Chicago. So basically, it was Milwaukee had the most, then Racine, we were second with the most amount of African Americans. Then Kenosha was kind of up there, and then Beloit. Beloit is over there more in South Central, over by the border. Madison was so-so. So it's basically Milwaukee and Racine was where most of the Black people were in the state. And then Kenosha would, have a few, but it's still, so Kenosha's grown in population, but it's still, the Black population is still not, like right. Milwaukee's pretty much 40%.
Right. And speaking of, there's really no transition to this, except the fact as we watched Devontae Smith accept the Heisman Trophy for Alabama. We all know.
I was shocked.
But we all know once upon a time he'd have never set foot on that campus. He'd have been
well, not only that,
he'd have been at Jackson State or Tennessee State or
right.
Or South Carolina.
But also the fact that he's a wide receiver winning it. He's the only third one to do it.
Right. And since 91. So yeah.
Yeah. Who won it in 91?
I did. I don't know. I have no
idea. No, because I remember when Tim Brown won it.
I think it was Desmond who won it.
Desmond won it,
Desmond. Right here, Desmond. Yeah. So when Tim Brown won it, I was pretty much upset because even though he went to the Raiders and all that stuff, but I felt like it was a whole Notre Dame thing because that should have been McPherson from Syracuse, who would have been the first Black quarterback.
You see, it's brand recognition. Howard
right.
and Brown, and you see what brand recognition got you last Friday evening against Alabama. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Alabama does not read the label; they just go out there and kick butt. Notre Dame has been worthless in major games forever,
right.
And so it's like for them to even be in the Final Four, Texas A&M got screwed. The selection committee, I don't know. What pictures do they have of y'all with livestock in bed somewhere? Why y'all keep putting Notre Dame up there as if they're a real football team? They're never a real football team against the best teams in the country. If you want to go,
that's historic. The Gipper, all those old school movies back in the 40s and Ronald Reagan's connection. So Notre Dame, and then you got to think about us growing up in the Midwest having to deal with that. A lot of people could not stand Notre Dame, even though they were in our periphery.
Oh yeah,
I guess
it's behind it. But you got a hype program, and then you got another hype program who got blown out in the other championship game, which was real. Oh my gosh, another hype program in the championship game, and with Clemson and Dabo picking Ohio State 11th, and he got shamed.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at Agate today, looking at all the bowl game results for these latter bowls, and I was looking at the losses, and I was going, wait a minute. The ACC was 0-6 in bowl games. Nobody in the conference won a bowl.
The ACC went 0-6?
0-6 in bowls. I'm like, man, what does that say about them? What does it say about Clemson? What does it say about Notre Dame? Both of the two ACC powerhouses in the Final Four. So,
well, let's not forget Notre Dame is a temporary deal. They're only halfway in. They play some of the games football wise, and basketball is more entrenched in the ACC.
I'm with that,
but they should have been in the Big Ten, though. It's a joke.
But I was
what are you doing in
I
there?
was watching the game the other night. A kid on there won Freshman of the Year in the ACC. And if I'm a really good freshman on the other teams who are full members, I'm not thrilled about that.
That's a good point.
A hot second, and then a bunch of their kids making first team all conference. No, that didn't sit right with me.
That's a good point. But Mike, I'm gonna let you welcome our frat brother and guest for the night in.
All right, another member of the greatest fraternity in the history of the world, Kappa Alpha Psi, on our J5 celebration. Also, he's in the same chapter with me here in the Bay Area, Palo Alto alumni chapter, Mr. Terrence Mullins. Terrence Mullins was a hooper over at Oklahoma, speaking of conferences. Oklahoma, during the heyday of Oklahoma basketball in the late 80s and early 90s, actually played in a national championship game. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. So play with the great Stacey King, Mookie Blaylock, and of course
Harvey Grant,
the twin brother of Horace Grant. So welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Man.
Thanks for having me.
Hey man, I tell you, Terrence, Mookie Blaylock, I think he's one of the underrated guys to come through the league, and tragic death. But talk to us a little bit about Mookie.
He was a game changer. He was a game changer the moment he stepped onto campus, man. You just knew this dude is special. Defensively, I've never seen someone able to pick anyone's pocket at any time the way he has, man. When he needed to get a steal, he's gonna take it. He's gonna get that ball. He was a game changer. And the funny thing is he defied all defensive principles where you keep your eyes on ball and man. He would defy that. He would lose his man at any time, but he was able to make up. He would almost make you appear to be open. So you're going to throw that ball, and then boom, he's in the passing lane.
Yeah. And you saw him a lot in Atlanta too, Tim.
I was gonna say it's like he may have been underrated to the rest of y'all. I saw Mookie play a ton with the playoff teams. I think he played with Dikembe on some of the playoff teams with the Hawks. So yeah, he wasn't underrated in my eyes. He was an outstanding ball player for a long time.
I don't think he get the credit that he deserves because the Atlanta teams weren't really going far in the playoffs,
right.
And that's when you really make your name is in the playoffs.
So Terrence, you're around my age, maybe a little younger, but you were from the Bay Area out here, San Francisco. So around that time, of course, Gary Payton was doing his thing at Skyline up in Oakland. So did you ever get a chance to play against him? And then, of course, a basketball legend, a playground legend, Hook, was around that time too. So did you ever get the chance to ball with him?
Yeah, we were all class of '86. I played with and against Gary, played with him in AAU. His father was our coach. Hook was also on that team. Greg Foster was on that team. Antonio Davis.
Wow.
It was a hell of a team.
Davis?
Yeah. Well, yeah. All these guys.
What about Brian Shaw?
Well, Brian is older than us. So Brian is class of '81, I believe. So he's much older than we are.
Okay.
So he was literally, I think he was drafted by Boston probably around the time I was still in high school. I was still in high school when he was drafted by Boston. And then he left and played over in Italy for a year and then came back.
Right.
But yeah, he's much older than we are. But Antonio, Greg Davis, Hook, myself, Gary, we're all class of '86. Played against him, never lost to him. Never lost to none of those dudes. We beat them twice. As a matter of fact, my senior year, we beat them twice. They were number 1 ranked in the Bay Area. We were number 2 ranked in the Bay Area. We beat them, then had to come back and play them again the next week and beat them again.
Okay, so this begs the question, and I always want to ask guys that come from really gorgeous, beautiful parts of the country, what would make you go to Middle America to play ball?
Real talk. When I was looking at being recruited, for me, it was about was this team, top 25, because we didn't have social media back then.
Right.
So for you to get, recognized, you had to really be on TV.
Right.
So was the team playing on TV? Were they, nationally ranked? Was I going to be able to play against best players and best teams all across the country? And that was and Oklahoma had one of the best programs basketball wise. So, it was culture shock first getting there.
Right.
But, once basketball, once they threw the ball up, it was all good.
All right. Well, speaking of that, then did you ever consider a Pac-12 team? Did you get any kind of looks from them?
Well, it was Pac-10 back then.
Pac-10 back then. Pac-10 back
So back then, actually all of the was being recruited by all of them, but I had narrowed it down to Washington and Arizona out of the Pac-10 of the teams that I was looking at.
Yeah, Arizona was actually they were nationally ranked a lot in the 80s during that time.
So they actually came onto the scene heavily right about the same time because with Sean Elliott right about the same time we blew up, at Oklahoma. There are times where I thought, man, maybe I should have went to Arizona.
Let me get everybody caught up watching the AfricanAmericanAthlete.com. I'm Ricky Hampton along with Michael Robinson and Tim Turner. We're joined by our guest, former Oklahoma Sooner standout, Terrence Mullins. Going to our chat board, Tree McDougal's checking in to say Happy Founders Day. Thank you, Tree. Raymond Bennett, our good friend Raymond Bennett said, "What's up, brothers?" And my lovely daughter's checking in to say she loves me and I love her.
Thinking about basketball right now.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
Also, thinking about basketball right now, is it difficult to watch the games this season more so than any other time?
It's funny without the fans, it's especially NBA. It's hard for me to watch college basketball. The talent level is not what it used to be, in college. But so I pretty much watch NBA, and it's without the fans there. It's almost like the guys are playing exhibition games. You know what I mean? They're not as hyped. I mean, you don't have that crowd. Then there's a certain level of you getting excited during the game that's missing. But
they all feel like scrimmage.
I won't say it's hard to watch because there's some good talented players in the NBA and they're still fun to watch.
All right, so Terrence, let's go back to your freshman year. Did you redshirt? Because if you were in class '86,
so I came out. Yeah, I redshirted. So when I first got on campus, right at we started practice about October 15th. So literally a week before practice, we were playing a little pickup game, and I tore my knee, my right knee.
Oh wow!
So I had to have surgery and redshirted my freshman year. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to
that
magic moment.
If you go back and watch some of those 86, 87 Oklahoma games, you'll see me at the end of the bench, toward the end of the year.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, so let's go to the final. The finals in Kansas City, Missouri, but it still was heavily favored for University of Kansas in Kansas. So what was that like playing a team that was like the darling of the NCAA Final Four, and they didn't have that great of a record that year, but they had Danny Manning and Larry Brown. So what was that like? They
struggled that year, and we beat them twice. We beat them easily twice.
Right.
But the thing is when you beat a team, you stick with your same game plan, where they change everything up. They changed everything up in that championship game, and we didn't make the end game adjustments. And then it was like playing, it was a home game for them. I mean, they had like literally 90% of the crowd.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's nowhere from their campus.
And I won't say the three referees too, but
You won't say it, but you did. Okay.
I won't say it. You didn't hear that from me.
Talk to us about the impact Wayman Tisdale had on that program, and I'm sure he was beloved there, probably even today. Even today.
Without a doubt, you can go from every player that was there right before me and those that came after me. Wayman had a something in them going to the University of Oklahoma. He put that team on the map, and he would come back every year, and he would play with us, and we play some pickup games together. And he was a monster. I mean, this dude was really, really good.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
he was really good.
I'm going back into 06, back in the old days. This is like, way past his NBA career and his career at Oklahoma. And I'm walking through a mall in San Diego, and there's Wayman Tisdale. I mean, he's got his sax with him. I think he had a gig there in town. He was an incredibly accomplished post-basketball jazz saxophonist.
He was bass player.
He played the bass. Yeah.
I'm sorry, bass player. He's walking through his bass. I'm sorry, I was crazy.
We got you.
Well, we know saxophone is usually associated with jazz, so it's easy.
I was thinking something.
He had the great title to one as our power forward. Hey, Chan, he was listed as 6'9". Was he really?
He was probably more about 6'7".
Yeah, no, he wasn't 6'9".
More like 6'7".
Yeah, because that kind of caught up to him a little bit in the NBA. He still effective, still had a great career.
Right.
But
But he played with Sacramento, right?
Sacramento, Phoenix. He was drafted by Indiana, the Pacers.
Okay.
Right.
Because I'm thinking about the Sacramento years. It seemed like that's when they were starting to get themselves together. It seemed like he kind of was a breakout guy there.
Yeah, he had that little turnaround jumper that was just really nice.
And that was an Oklahoma staple. So part of our offense, or I won't say part of our offense was inside out. So it really centered around a good big man. So if you're watching those 80s, early 80s and late 80s, it started with Wayman with the turnaround jumper because he was automatic on that box. And then Stacey King and Harvey Grant, they were automatic on the box also with the turnaround jumper. Harvey could step out and shoot the jumper and face up. But Stacey King had one of the best turnaround jumpers in the game.
Speaking of that, how weird is it to see Harvey's sons playing big time minutes in the NBA right now? Jeremy doing really well in the playoffs.
It's funny thing, I won't say it's weird. It's just you remember them as kids. I remember them when they were little kids. So I won't say it's weird. They were tall then, and I would just talk to them about, you guys don't realize how good your father was. I said, so if you could go back and watch how good your father was, some of his college games and early NBA games, I said, you might look at him a little different. Kids always.
What about their uncle? How they feel about their uncle, Horace?
Well, of course they knew he played on championship teams. So, but Harvey didn't. Harvey didn't have the NBA career that Horace did. So, I'm just trying to get them to respect your dad's game rather than your Uncle Horace. You're gonna think your uncle's great, but your dad was great too.
And Jeremy's here in Detroit, got paid and is playing well. He's averaging 22, 23 points a game for the Pistons this year. Hey, so you guys played inside out. You guys definitely wasn't shooting the number of threes that they're shooting now.
No.
How do you see the game change? And would that have worked in y'all's favor if you shot it as much as if they played the way they do now?
Probably not. I mean, they jack up the game now is so, that it's either a 3-pointer or a dunk. There's no in between game with most players. You see, I mean, if they're not jacking up a three, they have zero game at all.
I was going to ask you that because there are no shooters. I mean, back then you could identify maybe 5 or 6 guys who could shoot the ball. These cats now, it seems like it is always ISO, and then pick and roll and then dunk.
Well, the funny thing is back then, you could go like, we'll take UNLV. There might have been 8 guys on the UNLV squad that could any night give you 20. There were 7, 8 guys on our squad that any night is going to give you 20. You look at college basketball today, you're not going to find any team with 8 guys that can give you 20 any night. You will not find it. You might find 2. Exactly. They can't do anything without that 3-point or it's like they don't have no game where they can create for themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That part is missing. That in between game, the 17, 15-foot shot missing completely.
Okay,
I blame Steph Curry.
I was gonna say, he
Yeah.
dropped 62 the other night. But Terrence, really,
Yeah.
you talk about college, you see a lot of that in the NBA now.
Exactly.
And analytics playing it, because I get so tired. I'll see a guy at the rim,
And kick it out.
just dunk it, and he kicks it outside.
Kicks it out. Yeah, that's the most upsetting thing as a basketball fan, and a former player. That's the most upsetting thing I could ever see. Take that layup. Don't kick that thing out. But it started with Europe. European basketball started doing that, and then
That's
it,
David
it is
Stern.
it is yeah it has really brought itself to the NBA. And then when you got guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the way they shoot the ball, everybody wants to be like what they see
Yeah,
Well,
is he the best shooter you've seen, Terrence?
by far. By
You
far.
know, it's funny, Terrence. You just missed his father because his
No,
father
no,
got
no, no,
out in
no.
'86.
I know. I knew his father was. No, I
Oh,
know.
okay. I'm
No.
just saying that, but to play against him because I was a freshman at TSU, and I remember watching Memphis State play because they were on a lot in Nashville, and I said, "Who is this dude from Virginia Tech with this jumper?" And it was his senior year, and that was Dale Curry, and then so that's what I'm
No,
saying about how you just missed.
I patterned a lot of my game after his father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you watch him. It's like,
All right,
how's
now,
he getting open? How's he getting those shots? I mean, we were the same size, played the same position. So I'm
right.
watching how he's doing his thing. Okay, I need to put that in my game. I need to put that in my repertoire.
And you say he's the best shooter by far. What about you? I think so too. He's the best shooter I've ever seen. What about you guys, Tim and Mike?
I think so, but I was watching the guy last night, and I was going, well, Dak, he's gonna be the next great shooter. Luka Doncic over in Dallas. That guy can shoot. And I'm talking about he takes intermediate shots. He doesn't sit out there and jack it up all the time, but he's got a complete game.
He's got a complete game. He's talented. Until I see him shoot 105 and make them in a row.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, you jinx Steph right there. So
Hey, the funny thing is, even before he did that, I had gone to a game several years ago, and I just watched him warm up. I got there early and watched him warm up. And when he came out, I swear he hit probably 30 or 40 straight, and then it went to half court, and then hit like 10, 15 in a row, and then left.
And half court.
At half court. I said,
And
this
see-
guy is not from this world.
The other night on TNT, they showed warm-ups of Steph doing that very thing. And Barkley disparaged it, saying, well, there's nobody on him.
Yeah.
Still,
I don't care.
I don't care.
Well, yeah.
you can take 99.9% of the people in the world with nobody on them. They're not gonna hit the baskets that he hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How could you say that? How could it even come out of your mouth? And that is just absolute skill.
But
Well, he also said that they edited that we didn't see all 105, so they could have edited that. So that they were also doing that too. But
there was a time when people were saying that his Splash brother was just as good, if not better. We know he's had some injuries before.
Klay is just as automatic. Yeah.
Clay has the most picture perfect form I've ever
Yes.
seen.
Yes.
Picture perfect form. His form is, I mean, if you want to take a shot doctor and mimic this guy's, that's the guy. That is the guy you want to mimic, his form.
But when you have a team full of, when you rely so heavily on guards and guys out there shooting these long shots, is that why, or is it the injuries? Is that why Golden State is struggling? And so, because they don't have if those guys aren't hot, you're not going to get anything. If Draymond isn't contributing, if Steph isn't giving what, and the rookie that came in this year, he looks like he's going to be an all-star in short order. But
Yeah, he looks good. James Wiseman.
Yeah,
Wiseman
yeah.
would be nice.
So
I think what it is you also have a lot of guys that haven't played with each other.
Yeah.
So, during that 5-year run to the finals, those were teams that even before, Steve Kerr became coach, they were together when Mark Jackson was there.
Yeah.
Right.
So that nucleus was there. You just add a piece here, another piece leaves, add a piece there, but your nucleus was there. Well, now your nucleus is pretty much gone. They're either retired, Sean Livingston, Iguodala's gone. Yeah, of those teams, I mean, the only players are there, Draymond and Steph, and Draymond is just now getting healthy enough to play. And you saw in the last 2 games that they've played, they look pretty good with Draymond there. So it's just a matter of time before they start gelling together, and they'll be all right. I think they'll be, when it's all said and done, in the 4, 5, 6 seed.
Does that detract from what they've Steve Kerr's legacy, or do you think that Mark Jackson is sitting around somewhere going, see, it wasn't just me. I developed these guys, and it's not that hard. It's not, it's a lot easier when you have a nucleus ready made when you come into a situation, as opposed to they were probably ready to take off when he lost his job.
Oh, they were taking off. But the funny thing is Steve doesn't take all the credit. He always gives Mark Jackson credit, at least during those years. He gave Mark Jackson a lot of credit for the team that he had put together, and how good those guys are.
Yeah, I appreciate the way he handled all of that. But Terrence, you were talking about, help our viewers understand why knowing your teammate, having guys who have played together is so important, because it's basketball.
Yeah.
But at that next level, why is that so important?
Knowing a guy's tendencies, knowing where a guy likes to catch the ball, how he catches the ball. Is this guy a spot up shooter, or does he want to do it off the dribble? Do I need to give it to him on the wing and let him do it off the dribble? Or does he need to have his feet set? Everything is about knowing, and then the same goes, for yourself. Do they know that, can this guy jump high enough to catch this alley-oop? Does he, just knowing all their little tendencies just makes for everything. If you watch how you just watch how Draymond and Steph play together. Just those two play together like Draymond knows where Steph's going to be, and no one else knows he's going to be there. That kind of cohesion, you can't coach that. Once players get that, once a team gets that, oh man, they're going to be dynamic.
Well, that was going to be the next question I had for you. How much of what the success that you guys have on the collegiate level, how much of that is coaching? If it's you guys already, you've established this rapport with everybody. I look at Coach K. I don't think he has to do a lot of work, because he gets the top players in America every year.
Well, you still have to coach these guys. Look at how, Kentucky gets the top talent every year, and this year they're 2-6. Yeah, but they get the top talent every year. So, but every year, half the team is leaving.
Right.
Every year he's bringing in 5 guys. 5 guys are leaving. Right. So they never really get a chance. And that works for a while, but after a while, it's going to catch up to you. And it's caught up to him.
You know what?
It's caught up to do.
That's a great point, and it ties into what you were just saying about having that know-how where you know where your guy is. I remember a few years ago, Cal Korver got traded to Cleveland, I guess, and he was playing with LeBron. And Korver was talking about how LeBron came to him and said, "How do you like to catch it back? Do you want to catch it here? Or and he was saying, do you want it here, or do you want it a couple inches down?"
It makes all the difference in the world.
LeBron was that detail on getting. I'm like, just throw him the damn ball, but it is.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he missed that big shot in the finals that would have made it 2-2, but we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, God.
It's 2017. Now, let's not digress it back to the Oklahoma time. You guys were the big guys on campus, but let's not forget, this is a football school.
It's a football
Sooners.
School.
So what was it like on campus in the late 80s and early 90s for you, knowing that football still was king?
Well, the funny thing is during that time, so when we first got there, it was a football school. After 88, so 88 until the time I left, it became a basketball school because we had more success than they had. Right. During that short period of time. We were one of the first schools to have a football team and a basketball team play for a national championship in the same year, in 88. We unfortunately lost to Kansas, and we also lost to Miami in the Orange Bowl. But, after that, the football program started getting into a lot of trouble, and they went on probation. So it became a basketball school.
Was that Marcus Dupree?
No. This was after Marcus Dupree. This was Charles Thompson was the quarterback who got into some trouble. If you look back to those days, So
okay.
Yeah. So that led to Barry Switzer, resigning.
Right.
And then what we call the dark years of Oklahoma football after that, until Bob.
Then he ends up in Dallas and gets a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
With Jimmy Johnson's team.
Who was your coach at Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I wanted to say Norm Stewart, but he was in Missouri. Who was
Billy Tubbs. Billy Tubbs.
Oh my gosh,
Billy Tubbs. So the funny thing, he and Norm Stewart were what we call frenemies, right? They loved each other off the court, hated each other on the court, to the point where you would think those two would go to blows. They would be literally on each side cussing at each other.
Those were the days, though, man.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Let me get everybody
So what did you end up doing after leaving Oklahoma? You overseas?
So I got hurt my senior year. About 15 games into my senior year, I get hurt. Had to have a second knee surgery. That pretty much ended my year. I came back and played like 4 more games, but it was never the same. So I took a whole year and just tried to rehab. Then, got an opportunity to go play over in the Philippines, played 1 season over there. And, the problem was I had met my wife right before I was leaving. We had started dating right before I left. So the whole time I'm there, I'm thinking about her, and that
right.
I hate to admit this, that we had an opportunity to go to the next level, right, to the playoffs, if we won a game, and I was ready to go home. If we win this game, that means I'm gonna be there at least another 2 weeks. If we lose, we're going home, So that was the one game I didn't point shave. I just didn't shoot.
I was gonna say point shaving for love.
I didn't point shave.
You couldn't Zoom, you couldn't text.
No.
You gotta make a phone call home, man. That's a few bucks, man.
A lot of bucks.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money. And then there was the time difference and all this. I'm like, man, I got to get back.
Hey, who are some of the teams you like to play now on the collegiate level?
So who the teams I played against?
Some of the teams that you like to watch play. I guess
back then. In
today's game.
At the collegiate level.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tough at the collegiate level. I used to like. In years past, I've always liked Duke. I've always liked Carolina. Roy Williams. I love his style of play. If you watch how Carolina gets it and they go with it, I could play in that offense. Who else? I'm not a fan of Kentucky. I'm not a fan of their style of play. I don't think it caters to the level of athlete that they get every year. They only score, 60 points, barely 70 points a game. With the type of talent they have, that they should be scoring 80, 90, 100 points a game.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the same things like this. They said about Dean Smith, the only person that can stop Michael Jordan was Dean Smith. The style of play, how they do things. It was like,
well, their style of play was up and down, but it wasn't isolation basketball. So it wasn't give Michael the ball and let Michael do everything. It wasn't centered around Michael. It was centered around all 5 players on the court.
We'll see that when you have that kind of talent, when you got him and Worthy and Kenny Smith and cats like that. I mean, you got 5 guys who are going to stay there 3 to 4 years, and they're going to get better as time goes on, as opposed to these like Kentucky. Calipari said he has I think of his 12 guys or 10 guys, he has 8 new players, or 8 guys that never played before.
Yeah.
Never played his style, never played with each other. They know each other from the AAU circuit. They probably always played against each other. It's a difference playing against someone versus playing with them. When I played against Gary, Gary Payton, I wanted to tear his head off. Playing with him was a different story. It was hard playing with him because I was used to playing against him.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, what about did you ever enjoy watching Cal or Stanford, being that you grew up in this area and then afterwards living here as an adult, did you ever watch them? Because I know Carolina came out here and played Stanford. I actually covered that game. So do you observe them at all?
Not really. I'm Oklahoma faithful. I wear that crimson and cream, not no other. So I don't root for other colleges. They're the enemy to me, all of them. I don't care if they're local or not.
Got you.
All of them. All of them.
All of them. All of them. Well, you see, with the news came out today that I don't think it's going to give an unfair advantage to Indiana because I don't think they have a really good team this year. But the entire NCAA tournament this year is going to be played in the state of Indiana. That came out, I think, today or yesterday.
Wow.
How does that sit with anybody, with you guys, on that regard?
Are they going to bubble every team?
Well, I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. They're probably going to use Lucas Oil and Indy as being some sort of bubble.
So
And then you have Notre Dame, Purdue, and whatever other schools they have there, and maybe that's how they're going to do it.
So you're looking at a glorified AAU tournament.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what.
And that's going to be with 64 teams, or are they going to reduce it?
I don't know what the format is going to be, but they said I think it's going to be the whole thing supposedly they said was going to be in Indiana. I have to look at that.
I would assume they would have minimal fans, so that would.
Or no.
Or no. Well, Indiana, they have some fans there. Trust me.
Yeah.
I think the Colts have fans.
Well, yeah. See, the women is still supposed to be playing in San Antonio because that's where the championship is. And then, ironically, the number one team in the country, which I cover, Stanford women, their point guard. Well, I think she's playing off guard this year. She's from San Antonio, so she's, definitely eager to play national championship games or whatever down there. So I don't know if theirs is going to change either.
Hey, Terrence, I want to go back to this kind of thing I've been hitting on with teams and how they play together. And every now and then you'll see a mid-major, a James Madison or something, a team that has 3 or 4 seniors, juniors, and they make a run. And these 3 or 4 juniors and seniors, they've been playing together 4 or 5 years. The senior might be a couple of red shirts. And those teams seem to be hard to beat because one, they're young men playing against
kids.
very talented kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to my senior year. If any freshman stepped on that court, I was going to tear him up because he's young. He doesn't know the game, right? Now, as you become a sophomore, junior, senior, now all of a sudden, you've seen it all. You've seen some things. You've played against some players. You've seen it all. So you're playing against these younger teams, not intimidated by them. You're looking at them like, that's a bunch of kids.
Yeah. And they look at them like that, even though they know these guys from a big name school or big time program. They don't seem to back down from that.
No, there's no intimidation.
Butler was a great example of that for a while. Now they kind of climbed up into a higher echelon. You'll find that teams like that where they can keep kids around longer, they're going to be successful. And then if you can recruit and replace those players, you'll be successful a long time.
I'm trying to think. The kid Murray, was he a 4-year guy?
For Cal?
More Morant. Morant.
He 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
Oh, yeah, 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Down in our conference, Ohio Valley Conference.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Taryn, did you ever even fathom or consider an HBCU when you were going through that process in '86?
Never even considered it, to be honest with you. I mean, our mindset back then, was power schools, top 25 schools. That was our mindset back then. Now, in retrospect, you kind of wish you would have gotten the HBCU experience. Probably would have gotten exposed even a lot more than at the University of Oklahoma, just because you're getting exposed from your talent based on, you being in a specific program. I mean, look at Avery Johnson,
Right.
look at Bobby Fields,
Lindsey Hunter.
Lindsey
Hunter. So
yeah, it does.
it was their talent that got them, to that next level, as opposed to being in a specific program, and then, they had good long NBA careers.
Right.
But one thing with you, Terrence, too, you were out west, and the HBCUs, one of the things, they just don't have the national.
They don't recruit. No,
Yeah, they just don't have the national recruit. So much of the recruiting at HBCU is word of mouth.
Well, a lot of guys would go to Morehouse. So a lot of guys I went to high school with, or know from high school, they went to Morehouse. But even then, none of them, even though they played high school basketball, they didn't play college basketball when they got to Morehouse.
No. We had some great intramural teams. I went to Morehouse. Great intramural teams. We had all kinds of all-stars. As a matter of fact, there was one night that got into a fight with a cat. It was an intramural team. And he ended up being a rapper, the rapper Gang Star.
Oh, okay.
What Gangsta?
He was a hothead from Boston, and he always wanted to go up against me, and we ended up scrapping up there. And then I'll be like, fast forward a couple years, I see him on like a video. I'm like, not him. Keith? We had a lot of kids like that, who went on to do different things with doctors and lawyers. That's their career objective there at Morehouse, as opposed to playing ball. It gets to be weird.
I never knew. I've known this guy I never knew he got in a fight with Gangstar.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I learned something about Tim every day.
Well, yeah, and it's funny.
I didn't know Tim Turner got lit up by Philip Bailey.
Ricky's about to tell a story. If another one of the Kappas, Eric Pate, will tell you, I destroyed Philip Bailey in a basketball game against Earth, Wind, and Fire. He had no business trying to check me. I destroyed him. So we're not going to go down that road. No, we're talking about, would you ever consider, if you were in a bubble, the COVID situation, if you were right now, if you are somebody playing basketball, would you consider wiping out your season? And I say this because the Duke women's basketball team the other day decided they were not going to play anymore this year.
Yeah, the thing is with COVID, it's, I mean, this stuff is killing people. And to be honest with you, there's so much that the medical and the scientists don't know about it. I don't knock a person for opting out. I don't knock a person for not playing this year, because you've got the rest of your life. But let's look at the kid from Florida who had it this summer.
Right.
And even though he's doing fine now, they don't know the long-term and lingering effects from him having it, and he passed out. And there are a lot of people saying it's because it affects your heart.
Right.
And so, how many players tested positive, doing fine, but haven't exerted themselves to the point where, okay, that heart might be an issue.
And see, that's exertion. Basketball, I look at basketball and hockey, up and down, up and down.
I mean, there's no huddle. It's not like football. Football, you got a huddle.
There's none of that. There's no between innings. You're not sitting there watching somebody hit. You are constantly in motion.
Yeah.
The two most, exertion-wise, the two most physically taxing sports are those two.
Yeah.
And it's like the basketball,
what, Tim? It's interesting you say that, because they were talking about how Mason, my guy Mason, died, heart attack. Was it Moses Malone? Was it Daryl Dawkins? So they're talking about all these players. Yeah, all these players had heart issues, and they were NBA players, and they were trying to contribute. Why was that seem to be a contributing factor to them passing away later on in life?
Yeah. Hey, Terrence, and speaking of that, with the COVID situation, you were an athlete at a big time major program. There's no doubt the Oklahoma basketball team made that university a lot of money. Do you think athletes should be compensated?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a full-time job.
Oh, we're talking about above the table now, Terrence.
Yeah, no. We won't speak on that. I plead the fifth. But no, absolutely. They should get some sort of stipend, because it's a full-time job. I'm talking from I would say even before October, because we had preseason workouts, conditioning,
But they
even
were all
before we started
voluntary though,
practicing.
right? They were
Oh
all
no, it ain't voluntary.
voluntary.
Oh no, it's not voluntary. No, it's you got to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning on this track,
Right,
and you got to be there 3 o'clock
right.
in the afternoon in the gym. We're doing conditioning, so it's every day, 5 days a week, and that's before you start practicing. And then once you start practicing, you know, you got 3 hour practice, you got your games. I mean, it's literally a full-time job. You got meetings, film,
Yeah,
so forth and so on. You can't work, so there's no money that you can get legally.
Nope.
You can't work. You have nothing. If you got to wash your clothes, you better hope you have a nice girlfriend that'll let you come over and wash your clothes. If you need a food on Sundays because they close the cafeteria early on Sundays and you got late practice, so you better hope your girlfriend made you some. If you got a girlfriend, better hope she made you something to eat.
right.
So yeah, they should be getting paid. I kind of want my check.
Yeah.
I need my
Hey,
rear.
Terrence, so
Well,
speaking of that time frame,
they make the bulk of their budget is on the tournament. I mean, they make several multi-billion dollars off of the tournament, and you guys will give you a PlayStation 5,
Right.
a little swag bag, and these cats around here living in mansions off of your work.
And don't forget the cap. They get a nice cap. They
A
get
cap and a T-shirt.
You get a watch.
You get to cut off a piece of the net. So yeah, hooray!
Go ahead, Mike.
so yeah. So Terrence, back to that time frame. I'm at Tennessee State. I'm not going to get into me trying to be a walk-on. That's a whole different story. But Ricky was down there at the same time, and I ended up being the sports editor for the paper. So during that year, '88, when you guys went to the championship, Mason was down there. We had just moved into the Ohio Valley Conference, so we were the only black school in a white conference. And Mason was 28 points a game, 10 rebounds, was wrecking shop down there. Jeff Martin was playing well for Murray State. Popeye Jones came up a little bit later. But you had Hersey Hawkins at Bradley averaging 35 a game. Yeah. You had Queenan down at Lehigh. And then, of course, a couple years later, you had that UNLV team explode on the scene. So what was it like playing against these players that were putting up numbers like that, and then to have a super team like UNLV your junior year?
It's funny. So '88, we played. Our first round games was in Atlanta, and we played Tennessee Chattanooga. That was the first game, right. And I believe Hersey Hawkins, they were playing Auburn, I believe. Right. So I'm intently watching this game. I mean, this dude's leading the nation in scoring. This dude is dropping 35 like in his sleep.
Right.
And the last thing you want to do, I'm thinking we're gonna have to play against this dude. I'm not trying to get drop 50 on me on national TV. Everybody in the world watching. So thank God Auburn beat him. So we ended up playing Auburn that next day. But that stuff is going through the back of your mind, like, oh man, I got to play against this guy tomorrow.
Oh. And he wasn't shooting threes.
No, he was taking it to the basket.
Yeah, he was.
He posted up a lot. He did everything. I mean, he just knew how to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
And what about that UNLV? What about the UNLV team in '90?
We beat them.
Look at that.
We beat them. So they came to our house, and we beat them. We beat them easily. As a matter of fact, come think about it, I think 1 year we lost to UNLV, and that was in UNLV, and that was my redshirt year, and that was the last time we had lost to UNLV, and we played them about 4 or 5 times after that, and never lost to UNLV.
Did you get back for homecoming? Are you still close to the program?
We usually have a reunion every year around August. So I've gone back several times for that reunion, especially when they recognize one of our championship teams. We won the Big 8 3 times there. It was the Big 8 back then, not the Big 12 that it is today. So when they recognize our teams for the reunions and stuff like that, I'll go back. So I've been back a few times.
Man, it sounds like the game of basketball has been good to you, Terrence.
I can't complain.
I got a question for you, Terrence. How were you able to pledge being on a team? We just talked about it full time. You pledged once again the great Kappa Psi fraternity.
Yes.
How were you able to pull that off? When you said that basketball is pretty much 24/7, 365.
You just do it. Real talk, you just do it. Actually, it was fortunate for me. So I pledged my junior year. And so I pledged the spring, which, most of our spring basketball, we were underground. So it didn't get heavy on the pledge side until we went above ground. So it wasn't so bad, but it was funny because I knew the big brothers at the time were waiting for us to lose in the tournament before we could go above ground. And as soon as we lost in the tournament, it was on.
What did your coaches have to say about your play?
Oh, they didn't know. We didn't talk about that stuff with them. We just, if you were going to do something like that, you just did it.
Okay. Tim, at Morehouse, were you guys frowned upon pledging on the football team?
What's that now?
Were football players, were they frowned upon pledging at
They were
Morehouse?
frowned upon, but they did it anyway. Because in football, you look like you get beat up, okay?
Yeah.
There's no differentiation of bruises from football or somebody tearing you behind up somewhere else.
Because your face looks fine. You just, you come in with a bald head and they wonder, what'd you shave your head?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to be tough, coach. This is my commitment to the team. I'm shaving my head.
So our coaches, see, the thing is our coaches weren't really, aware of what went on campus. And most of what you were doing pledge-wise is on campus. So he didn't see, you running across campus, bald head with your combat boots on and stuff like that. They didn't care about that stuff.
Were there other members on the team pledging on your line?
No. Actually, one of my teammates was a Q, so he was pledging also.
At the same time? Yeah. Wow. Hey, man, this has been a great hour. I mean, really appreciate it. You got to come back and talk some more hoops.
Oh, yeah, anytime, man, anytime. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
No problem.
And happy Founders Day, Noops, yo.
All right.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, I want to thank everybody. For, and Friday, don't forget, Friday, 6 p.m., we're going to be joined by former
Wait, 6 p.m. Eastern?
6 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. That's going to be tough for me.
Well, you
That's 3
can
o'clock here.
when you get a chance.
Okay.
Terrence Mathis is going to join us. We're going to preview the weekend NFL game. So check us out Friday, special show, 6 p.m. And of course, we'll be back Tuesday. For Michael Robinson, Tim Turner, our special guest, Terrence Mullins, Ricky Hampton, good night. God bless.
All right.